inbound marketing can be a lengthier process than, say, buying a bunch of impressions for the next 30 days.
I actually do this. I even have a bigger camera here. Just as a backup,
Awesome.
to see if I need this. Have you done anything with for your clients? Do you do any video marketing?
We do. It's interesting when we started when I started the agency a little over 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We might do one video per client per year, and now we do. Gosh, we may do as many as 10 or 12 per quarter. Per client. So much, much more. I mean, I think, you probably see that more and more consumers are watching video on smartphones and tablets. And so the technology has allowed for much more video consumption.
Definitely. How do you create them? Do you have what format is it? I mean, it's hard to make a video, right? It is hard to make a video. So how do you produce them with an outside agency?
So it requires a lot of pre-planning, right? So you have to make sure that the video that you're going to produce meets some strategic goal for the client.
I don't know. We're talking about videos. You said it requires a lot of planning.
Right. So when you, as an agency working for clients, you have to, put some premium on the pre-production process. So having mapping video content back to strategic goals for the client. And then, it goes into, for some videos we storyboard. It depends on the type of video, honestly. Like if it's an interview, something like this, it's probably less about the storyboard and more about agreement on the direction of the, the outcome, what it is that you're hoping, what value you want to add to the person who's ultimately going to watch the video. If it's more of a storytelling type aspect, then yes, you have to make sure you do storyboards and have clients sign off. And then, but fortunately, I think with us, we've earned a lot of trust with our clients. And so the product that we, may sound a tad arrogant, but the product that we produce, over the years, they've become comfortable. And so when we say, hey, we have an idea to do video to kind of help you with this goal or tell this story, we don't get a lot of pushback anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's definitely a medium of the future.
Agreed.
We have right now already. I couldn't find exactly your target customer group. Did you specify that, or maybe I didn't see it? Or what is could you distill it down to a certain persona?
Yeah, so our clients are predominantly higher education, so large universities in the U.S. And they'll approach us for a number of reasons. So one, it's to improve kind of the caliber of students that they are recruiting. It could be to bring back alumni who've been out of school now for 20 plus years. So the more involved that you can get those alumni, the more likely they are to contribute either time back to the university or treasure in the form of a donation. Or talent, maybe they come and speak to classes or they get involved on campus groups and things like that. So our clients are predominantly higher education. We also work with a technology firm that works in the radio frequency identification space, or RFID.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about, the work that we do with them, and then potentially, adding more clients in kind of that technology, Internet of Things, and that type of space.
For these, especially these higher education institutions, what works for them in content marketing? Is that something that you figured out that specifically works for them that you can sell over and over again, like let's say a secret sauce for this customer group?
Well, if I tell you, it won't be a secret anymore, right?
True.
Well, I would, I would say that nostalgia works well with alumni. So, they tend to look back on their college experience, and if they finished it in 4 years, it could be the what they consider some of the best 4 years of their life, from the friends that they made, the networking that they began, whether that was through a campus organization or a fraternity or sorority. But so you can tap into a bit of nostalgia. There's also a lot of industry that are interested in the research that goes on campus, and so they are looking, they're always looking for a competitive advantage, right? So
Mm.
if they can cultivate a relationship with a professor or department in a school or college that might give them access to specific research, sponsored research, things like that. That's the type of content that we focus on. Current students have a lot of platforms on campus where they communicate with one another. They tend to still use email a lot with current students. So we kind of focus more on attracting new students
Yeah.
and then working with alumni.
For the new students, do you have to switch to update the marketing channels constantly? Let's say go for Snapchat maybe soon, or uh, anything else that's hype that these target customers of your customers use?
Yeah, so that's a great it's a great point. So Snapchat, I think probably the thing that we look at more is the use of live video
Yeah.
or storytelling. And so Instagram has rolled out live feature now. Twitter has more integrated Periscope, and so
Yeah.
definitely using on-campus events to kind of boost awareness and activity. And that activity could be checking out the website, downloading a content
Mm.
offer. I will say this. Content marketing to prospective students also has to have a segment for parents, because the
Yeah.
parents are very involved in that decision. They're going to want to know what it costs
Mm.
and what are the chances of their child ultimately getting a job when they graduate, so that they can move off of mom and dad's, uh, you know, ledger.
Mm. That makes sense. And is that because you niche down that you can reuse the expertise, or reuse probably not the content, but probably research studies or something that you have already? Did that make a huge difference? Was there like a point where you switched from broad to being very narrow?
I believe so. I think that you know we we play to our strengths, right? And so we have some within the agency we have some in-house expertise that
Yeah.
comes from higher education. My agency physically is located 300 meters from the corner of Auburn University's campus, and so most of our employees are either, if they're
Mm.
part-time, they are current students. If they're not,
Yeah.
they're recently graduated. And so we have a lot of perspective from both the current student, recently graduated, and then working within higher education as either a fundraiser or administrator. So yeah, we felt like going very, very narrow
Mm.
was, a good way to kind of super serve
Yeah.
that industry.
I would like to come to my favorite part of the interview, which is also the motivation that I do these things, which is lead generation. I mean, you have a very specific customer group. You probably also have very simple methods to find them because they're all listed online, right? You can Google them easily. But what works for you in finding new, or acquiring new customers?
Yeah, so I wish that I could say that there was one thing.
Mm.
We've had to, so it's funny. So as the more narrow we've gotten with our industry and our market, the more broad we've kind of had to go with our lead generation.
Okay.
So we're an inbound marketing agency. We're a HubSpot partner. So
Yeah.
inbound is at the core of all of our own lead generation efforts.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
but we also find that word of mouth, sitting down with our point of contact and asking them, like, who do you know that would
Mm.
benefit from having a conversation with us? So not being afraid to ask for kind of that old school face-to-face referral.
Yeah.
Um, and then using our expertise and using the things that we've learned over the years to develop our own content offers that we then place, and target to, um, other directors or vice presidents of communication and marketing, or even academic deans at schools and colleges and universities. So, it's a great question, and it's something that I promise you 6 days out of 7, I'm thinking about lead generation.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a great question, and it's one that has evolved over time and will continue to evolve.
Yeah, it probably is. Because there's also competitors, and they might use some different methods or the same methods, and then they might fight on the marketplace. But I ran an agency before, and not in that space, not marketing. It was software development, and for me that was a topic that I haven't really heard of until ran into problems. So that's basically my mission to basically help digital agencies with the lead generation. Um, and this is why I wanted to know how people do this. I wanted to know if maybe we can share that. So when I've interviewed someone else who had a good insight, I would like to give you the video as well, so you can learn from them. But specifically, did you try cold emailing at all?
I'm sorry, try what?
Cold emailing, like listing them
No.
and no?
Yeah, no, we don't. And I promise you, we've had multiple offers over the years for people that wanted to sell us list or
Yeah.
to help us with that. We, again, with the inbound methodology, we focus more on if someone has expressed interest, let's say they visit our website, they're either going to complete a form, which then gives us their name and address, our name and email address, which is easy to then kind of start the process.
Yeah.
If they don't, then yes, we have to kind of use some retargeting methods. So
Mm-hmm.
we may follow them to Facebook, we may follow them around the web,
Yeah.
um, and kind of show them our content offers to try to convert that lead at that point. But we've never really gotten into the cold calling or cold emailing. I had a experience doing that years ago with
Mm.
America Online, and honestly kind of founded this agency to get away from some of those practices.
Yeah. Oh, what did you do back then? Oh, you were working for AOL and
Yes. Hmm.
oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably a
Yeah.
tough game to do lead generation for B2C, I guess.
Yeah. So the internet with training wheels.
And the people who tried to sell you lists, did they have any success? I mean, you didn't buy from them, but what do you think did not work there? Or what didn't look right for you?
So when they start their email with, they obviously don't understand, they're cold emailing us,
Yeah.
so we've not shown any interest in them. So when they contact us and it's clear that they don't understand who we are and the type of agency we are and the type of clients we work with, those, kind of go to the spam folder right away or get
Right.
deleted. I have seen some clever ones over the years that have used a combination of email and phone and direct mail.
Mm.
Um, I can't remember the specific combination, but it usually kind of starts with direct mail and then it's followed up with a phone call and then an email.
That's good.
Some of the other tactics have been, we've had the administrative assistant to the CEO has emailed me and said that she wants to set up time with me and the CEO to talk about our lead generation efforts.
Uh-huh.
And ultimately they just end up, I never get to talk to the CEO. They
Mm.
always hand me off to, he or she is always out of the office conveniently and they hand me off to someone else. So they've gotten good at their attempts at trying to win us over as you
Mm.
know, to sell us list.
Okay, but this is like because of your personal background and because of yeah, I mean, well, you doing it yourself, getting a virtual assistant and scraping lists from universities and then emailing them, never considered?
I considered it, yes. I mean, because as you pointed out earlier, I mean, this has become a much more competitive space.
Yeah.
There are a lot of web design firms, for example, that are now trying to get into the marketing services business, and
Yeah.
so it's become a much more competitive space. Certainly in the last 2 years, and definitely from when we started, 5 years ago. It's tempting, yes. I think. It's not something that we would ever rule out, but again, there has to be some interest there. There would have to be someone from that university would have had to have contacted us in order
Yeah.
for me to feel comfortable to kind of go and sort of scrape those leads and
Yeah.
contact them that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, you just mentioned a trend of web design agencies getting into marketing space. Is that something they're qualified for, or do you see more problems from that occurring?
Great follow up. I think they're having to go out and hire folks,
Yeah.
and so what's happened is that, web design has become such a commodity that, their margins are tight. It's harder to attract new business. And so they've decided to get in the marketing services game. So then they have to go
Mm.
hire someone away from an agency like mine, for example,
Yeah.
to give them some in-house expertise there. But you can't. I'm sort of a believer you can't really change who you are. It's in your
Yeah.
DNA. And if they are a true web design shop, uh, it can be done, but I've also seen where it goes wrong in a hurry.
Okay, what do you think is the businesses like yours? How can it position themselves better for the future? It's like just to kind of cut the market at that point and say this is where we're experts here, and this is why the other people cannot enter. Do you know what I mean?
I do. So what I would say is I look at our history and I think about how much we've changed, and video is a great example.
Mm.
I think live video, and in fact, I just wrote a blog about this. Live video really kind of erupted on the scene in 2016, and I feel like in 2017, it's going to be that's where we have to be that strategic resource for our clients and advising them on how to integrate live video because there's a lot of live video out there that's just garbage.
Yeah.
So to kind of rise above that clutter, they need someone like us that can apply the strategy, that can figure out their long-term goals, and then help them work on integrating live video into their marketing and communication mix. So I, it's being able to constantly adapt and having a core team that kind of buys into that process.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to test and learn. I mean, we've done a lot of testing with live video, both for ourselves and for clients in this past year, and are really set to offer that more as even a standalone service
Mm.
possibly in 2017.
That sounds good. Yeah. Have you thought about making a productized service in any area of your business?
We have. I don't think we've not done it well, just to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
we've tried. I think we kind of one of our strengths is always taking the long view and being more
Mm.
strategic. And inbound marketing can be a lengthier process than say buying a bunch of impressions for the next 30 days.
Mm.
That's kind of a more immediate type thing. What we look for is to develop customers over time and then keep those customers
Yeah.
your in your your database. And so we've tried, and we've got a couple of ideas for things we may try in 2017 from a product approach.
Mm.
I don't. We've got a lot of lessons learned that we can apply going forward. It's not something that I think that we've really executed well in the past.
What do you think would be a suitable productized service in your area? I mean, you kind of touched it a bit, but maybe you have one specific idea?
Yeah, I think definitely something along the event support and live video.
Mm.
Is certainly something because you can integrate Snapchat through custom geo filters and even storytelling there during the event. You can integrate now Twitter and Instagram and
Yeah.
um, Facebook Live. I mean, there's so many different platforms, and each needs to be treated differently, but all have the same you know outset or output or goal at the end. And so I think that has the potential for us to kind of move more as a product offering.
Mm.
We have always we've always looking at social media marketing for the folks who maybe aren't mature enough to sort of buy into the full-blown inbound marketing suite of services. They could still use help with social media marketing. That's a
Mm.
tougher one because I see social media now where web design was 4 years ago. Everyone thinks they can do it. Everyone thinks it should be
Yeah.
free. It's kind of become a commodity itself. So
Mm.
that one's a little bit tougher to sell as a standalone. But I think if you find the right mix of content
Mm.
and the right client type, that could still probably work in the product space.
Just as out of curiosity, because I do some marketing consulting, but my business is not as big as yours, far from that. What are the biggest pain points you have right now? I mean, apart from thinking about lead gen 6 days out of 7.
It's
Well,
probably closer to 8 out of 7, but I wanted to be a little bit more realistic. Lead generation certainly.
mm.
The other thing, I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
You follow Gary, yeah. So, he has. I'm going to do a horrible job with the quote, but he talks about, there's a kid in the garage carving your name in the side of a bullet, and it's better to put yourself out of business than have somebody else do it. And so that's between lead generation for us, and then
Mm.
just always trying to stay one step ahead of,
Yeah.
the one or two guys that are going to put together a marketing services shop and have something much more compelling to offer than we do. Um, those are probably the two big ones.
Yeah, awesome. That's I didn't expect the last one actually. Great.
Yeah.
Um, Let me quickly drop you one line of how I see the future of what we do, because the second point actually pointed to this. We are building a huge database of business URLs now, and we use that to sell lists, right? We don't want to sell you the list, as you clearly indicated, so I will not bother you.
Or you're gonna have to figure out a better way to do it.
Or that, okay. I might give it a shot later.
Yeah.
The other thing the server will do is basically, do you know build with?
Yep.
Okay, it's like a build with for marketing methods. So I wanna know how many companies are dropping out of Twitter and starting with Snapchat in the in this year. So maybe there will be something that's valuable, but we are far from building it, or we're far from knowing this core. But once we're there, I would like to ask you again, like if that would make any sense. It's probably like 2 years in. It was just interesting to see you pointing to this specific problem that I've seen already for a year now, because there's so many marketing methods and we just don't know where it's going. We don't even have statistics of what happened in the past. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think when you develop that, I'd be all ears. I'd love to hear about it, because to me, that's more marketing intelligence.
Yeah.
So that's allowing us to make better decisions. It's allowing us to be better strategic advisors to our clients. It allows us to do more from a lead generation, because we're not spending money in places where people are not spending time anymore. So, that to me is very, very different from the person who sends me a connection request on LinkedIn with a fake profile picture, some attractive young woman from the Ukraine, for example, and they're trying to basically all they're trying to do is sell me a, email list for clients that I wouldn't go after anyway. So what you described is very, very different. That would be something that we'd definitely be interested in. I mean, we're always looking for how do we make better connections across multiple social media platforms, but ultimately still lead that customer back to, desired outcome for our clients.
Mm. Yeah, great. Thanks for the feedback. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Woo.
That's the weirdest question I know, but it's also the last one.
No, it's a good one, because it's got me. Wow. Maybe we come back to that one when you come back with your business idea in a year or so. We'll come back to that question. So.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely reach back out to you, and once the video is done, I'm gonna send you a preview that maybe you can use for something, or I would give you the other videos from the other agency owners if that's something interesting for you in there.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the benefits of being a HubSpot partner, for example, is being able to network with other agency owners and kind of talk through similar pain points, and so that's a very vital part in growing, both as an agency leader and as an agency, is being able to have those conversations or see lessons learned from others.
Exactly. Are you in any masterminds? Because there was just my manager from my team. She said, why don't we make a Slack group and invite some agency owners and get them together? I don't know if that maybe introduces too much friction. Are you in any groups where we exchange with other agency owners? Or?
Well, I think it's a great. I think that's a great point, because at least for us, there aren't that many yet. Now, ask me again in 2 years when everyone's trying to market to higher education, but there aren't that many yet, and so they tend to see me as not a competitor. So they're but we're all discussing kind of the same pain points: lead generation, for example, content marketing, video marketing, hiring and firing, all those little like HR and personnel details that go into, so they're a lot more willing to kind of discuss that if they know either geographically we're a long way away, or industry wise we're not going after the same folks.
That was everything. I thank you so much for your time. I know you're super busy. And
yes, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, and have a good day.
Bye-bye.
arrived in Da Nang for a short weekend trip. I can't believe this is Vietnam. It's sorry, it's very cold here.
Very cold.
Very cold here, isn't it?